Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and in this episode I talked to Matt Pittman from Meat Church. If you haven't heard about Meat Church, you will hear about Meat Church. Matt has grown this business into a mega barbecue business. He has over 137,000 Instagram followers. He has over 10,000 Twitter followers. He has a huge following for his rubs, for his injections, for his clothing, for his authenticity. Everything that he does is authentic and it comes across that way. He's a great guy to talk to. I know you're going to love it. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's interesting to see how he started the business and how he's grown it. He talks a lot about that. He talks about the different classes that he puts on. These classes just sound incredible. They sell out, I think, within 48 to 72 hours. He's even taught classes in Sweden. We talk all about that. We talk about a bunch of different things. I think you'll really enjoy it. All barbecue related and life related. If you like what you see, please subscribe, but please enjoy this. Good evening, Matt.
Hi,
Thank you for taking the time. I know you have a really busy schedule, and also you have, what, four children?
I do. Back to school today.
Today's a back to school day?
Yeah. So they were fighting sleep. Finally, gave them tranquilizers and knocked them out.
What are the ages of your kids?
Uh, 5, 6, 19, and 23.
Wow.
Yeah, big spread.
That's a big spread, and it's also a lot of different ages to deal with.
Built-in babysitters.
Oh, that's true. That's probably the most positive. So I wanted to know a little bit before we kind of get into what you're doing right now, but I wanted to get your background. What were you doing prior to the barbecue? Were you always in the barbecue world, or did you start out that way?
No, so barbecue's a side project for me, believe it or not. Most people don't believe that, but I'm a IT professional by day. So I'm a vice president of technology operations or infrastructure for a financial services company, and I've just kind of always cooked all my life, and um, had a bite of Central Texas barbecue and figured I had to replicate it, and here we are.
Isn't that funny? That's like the bug that gets so many people.
Yeah, I grew up in the South, so I grew up. I was born in Tennessee, had tons of pork. You don't really
Hmm.
have beefy type barbecue you have here, so had lots of it. But came to Texas and had kind of salt and pepper barbecue of Austin, and was like immediately taken back by it. And uh,
No. Do you remember your first place you went to?
yeah, well, the first kind of Central Texas barbecue I remember is Black's.
Okay.
Having a bite of beef rib at one point. So
Mm.
that's what did it. That's what gave me the bug. It's their fault.
We'll blame them in the best way, I think. But I think that I'm sure they're the gateway for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And I think because of the restaurants in Lockhart, a lot of these other restaurants exist because of them too.
yeah. Lockhart was really the mecca. And now Austin has blown up
Mm.
to be, you know, I guess you probably hear more about Austin than you do Lockhart now,
Oh, for
but it's
sure.
all really close. So yeah, Lockhart's where it started for sure.
Where do you live? Do you live in Texas now?
Yeah, I live in Waxahachie, Texas, which is like 30 minutes south of Dallas.
Okay. So how often do you get down to Austin?
A lot. I mean, being in the barbecue business, you have, get down there a fair amount. It's only a drive a little over like 2.5 hours. So we're down there a fair amount. Austin's a fun place. Lots of people go there, for a lot of different reasons, but it's a good little getaway.
Oh yeah, and the food in general, outside of barbecue, the food's amazing in Austin.
Yeah, there's all
Music.
kinds of food. Yeah, it's a fun town.
It's
Very liberal town. It's not like Texas in a lot of ways, but it's got some of the best food in Texas.
I always feel like it's like Los Angeles and San Francisco meets Texas. It's like it still has that sentimentality of Texas, but
Yeah,
it's completely different.
yeah, it's way different. Like I said, extremely liberal. You can't even get an Uber in Austin, but you get food.
That's ridiculous. So then, first off, too, well, not first off, but Pittman, is that really your last name?
No, so barbecue business took off, and I got my family together. I said, "Look, if it's going to take off, we need to change our name." I'm totally kidding.
No, I know.
Uh,
It just sounds like so. It's either it's meant to be or just strangely.
yeah, I didn't think about it for the longest time, and we actually at a barbecue competition. Somebody said, "Did you change your name for this?" And I said, "Yeah." You know, kind of like Meta World Peace or Chad Ochocinco. I figured I'd be the first to make the move in the barbecue world.
That's smarter than all these other people. Because I thought I was clever. I was gonna ask you that. This is like a couple months ago, and then I watched your audition tape for
barbecue pitmasters, and I'm like, that's already been done.
Yeah, but I spelled it wrong. I have two T's in my name instead of just one. So
That is true. It's eccentric. So then what made you, what was the, I know that you fell in love with Central Texas barbecue, but what made you did you start Meat Church instantly? Like when you decided to start Meat Church, or how did that evolve?
no, so I guess, I said I've kind of always cooked all my life, but in college, I had some buddies that really barbecue. And I had a buddy, Pete, who's got two huge smokers, and he'd always say, come over on Saturday, I'm going to cook like 45 racks of ribs and 12 briskets. And so, that was kind of something I liked. And so me, him, and another buddy got together and started competing a little bit. They competed, I tagged along with them. And then I got a little more serious. Like one time we were competing in Arlington, Texas, and my buddy pulled a screwdriver out of his pocket, and it wasn't a brand new screwdriver. And he's like stirring up his barbecue sauce with it. He says, here, try this. And I'll never forget that moment. I thought, we actually did pretty well that weekend, but I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I thought I want to go out and do this on my own. So just started competing, and I don't know. I'd been a really serious outdoor cook for a long time. Like we're 16 or 17 years into a big crawfish boil where we've had 350 people in my backyard. So always been
nice.
a live fire kind of guy. And then after having that barbecue, I wanted to replicate it, hung out with my buddies. They got me the bug, and my wife bought me an offset stick burner for Father's Day, and I had no training, just kind of went after it.
Yeah.
I had Big Green Egg, cooked, kind of anything and everything on it.
Mm-hmm.
Was really enamored by how you could, do barbecue or grill, or you could bake and make pizzas and desserts and all that. So that's kind of really what got me going. And now here we are. This thing's taken off quick.
Yeah, it has. So how long has Meat Church existed?
Meat Church existed for almost 4 years now, about somewhere between 3.5 and 4 years.
Did it start off with just a rub, or was it?
No, it was an accident. So you said, you mentioned you saw the tryout tape. So
yeah.
For Pitmaster. So we tried out, and we were selected to be on and given only 3 weeks notice to film all the way in Tampa, Florida. And just about 2 weeks before we left, I was at a local place buying ingredients for one of my rubs. And while the guy was getting my order, I looked down at the counter and saw this book of labels and some that I recognized. And he came back up and I said, do you make these or something? And he said, yeah, I'm their co-packer. I said, what's that mean? And he said, well, if you give me the recipe, I could make your rub. So we already had, we were already, the name Meat Church as a competition team name. So I left his shop, called my brother, driving back to work, and, told him. He said, well, do it. So I called the guy back. It had been 10 minutes. And I said, make my beef rub and call it Meat Church. Holy cow. And accidentally Meat Church was born. So we went on the show, or we went to film the show a couple weeks later, and I took 2 rubs on the show, and they had black and white labels at the time, just text. We had a logo, but they just said, Holy Cow in text and Hunting Hog in text. So when we got on the set, the crew was really cool, and they stack it up where you can see it, and they show it. If you take like a McCormick's, they're going to gaff tape over it where you can't see it.
Yeah.
With their own stuff, they'll show it. So the show in April, and by that we launched a website, and we had 3 rubs, 2 hats, 2 shirts, and we sold 6 things that day. And it was just kind of a hobby. I mean, I didn't have this big grandiose idea to turn it into what it is now, but I thought it'd be, kind of cool to do something. So it just dinked around for 4 or 5 months, and then it basically it felt like it exploded overnight and hasn't really slowed down since.
See, that's such a great story, and it is amazing because I've watched your progression kind of on the outskirts, and then now it just seems like it's huge, and all these people are on social media are sharing your rubs and everything that they've done with them, and that's such a great feeling, right?
It's crazy. I mean, I'm not trying to be anybody. I'm cutting my own path, and I think really what I try to do is on our social media, it's only me, right? No one's ever logged into our account. We've never paid for a like, never had any agency. Yet we've got, by what I can tell, the largest Instagram and barbecue, other than some guys that repost everybody else's hard work.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yes,
I don't count those guys, but it's just what I cook in my backyard, and I don't think I'm better than anybody. I don't tell you that you're right or wrong, or my way's my way, and if you dig it, cool. And it seems to have resonated with people, so it's really taken off. And this whole idea of influencers, we were sharing our product with friends for a long time, and immediately people started posting pictures of all of our rubs. Oh, mail call, look at this Meat Church rub. And I hadn't seen that very much to that point. Now, granted, we're pretty early adopters of Instagram, but my Instagram had been up for 4 months when I did a festival, and I mentioned to my wife, "Hey, we've got 450 followers. I wonder what this festival will mean for it." And I think we gained like 50 people that day, but now we're at 135,000. It's crazy. So
that's amazing. That's a stunning figure.
Yeah,
I think a lot of it has to do with you being authentic. It's authentic and it feels authentic. And maybe if you were giving anyone advice, if you wanted to give anybody advice, would that be your advice?
Yeah, I tell people there's no shortcut. You can do it. Well, you can shortcut if you want, but it's not going to get you, really where you want to be. I mean, there's a lot of people speaking out against people that are reposting. There's guys that are reposting other people's hard work 10 and 20 times a day, and they might get a gig here or there that, you might get a 5-figure gig with a company to rep their product, but that isn't isn't really going to hold very long. So with me, I think we take good pictures, but they're not the most professional pictures. My page doesn't look completely styled. It's kind of like what I feel like doing, and it works. But you said it's authentic. Also, we're real. If you ask a question, I'm going to answer it. Whereas a lot of big brands, they'll have a food stylist, and have someone else write the recipe, and someone else curating it down, and some pro social media team running it. And so, how'd you cook that? You're usually not going to get the expert telling you how to do it. Whereas with us, we try to talk to everybody.
Yeah, and you've always been, anytime I've emailed you, you've gotten back really quickly, and it just feels like it's a real person that you're dealing with.
Yeah, it's real. It's a labor of love.
and it's case in point, you're right here.
But it's cool. I mean, everybody's really cool. I mean, I'd say when you put your food out there that much, it's a little bit scary because everybody's an expert and they're going to tell you what's up. But we don't get that much hate. I mean, it's probably, I think it's because of how we go about it. And again, we're not judgmental of people. If you burn something, we're not going to say, "Hey, you burned that," or "You butchered that wrong." I mean, so be it.
Yeah, and a lot of people are just trying things out, or they're just learning themselves.
Yeah, and we also, we work with a few brands, but I'm not. It's also very natural in the fact that people look at what we do, and we cook on 20-something cookers. So it's not my business to tell you what kind of cooker you should cook on and what temperature you should cook at, or what tastes good to you. So I'll tell you what I think, but you do you, and maybe you like what we cook, and we'll see.
And so, did you have classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you do those classes at your house? Is that what? Because I couldn't tell.
Yeah, teaching is one of the aside from our rub is kind of the biggest thing that we do and what I'm most passionate about, and a really big differentiator for me. So I teach with some grilling stores and things like that. I teach at the Big Green Egg Culinary Center. I teach at Traeger's headquarters. But we built this kind of super cool outdoor kitchen. It's an outdoor kitchen on steroids.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun. So we started that in March of this year, and we've been fortunate. I mean, we'll list a class, and they've never lasted more than 2 days without being sold out. The first one we did, I hadn't looked to see where the attendees came from, and I listed the class about 10 days before we had the class. And the day before, I printed out an attendee list, and there were 7 states on there, and I thought, I couldn't get permission to do that quick. We had people from literally all over the country flying in for this class, and it's kept up. So we're doing.
What did the class entail?
Well, they're not your typical brisket, ribs, chicken. They may be, but I kind of pride myself on trying to find different stuff. And in half the classes, we brought a special guest. Like I had Jess Prowse come to one. I had my friend Jordan Jackson from Bodacious on Marble. He's number 4 on Texas Monthly Top 50 now. Wasn't at the time. People that I know can cook, that I respect and would have fun working with. So we do a little collaboration, and that's something you can't just buy anywhere. So you're coming to my private home. You're getting anything you want to know from me. You get to experience this super cool kitchen. A lot of times we have giveaways from people we work with, and then access to other cool people. So we're going to have 2 classes with Mo Cason in the fall, which that'll be
nice,
super cool. So
he's one of the coolest people out there.
Yeah, he talk about genuine. So
he's like larger than life, but it's real. It's just really is.
We just taught 2 classes together in Sweden.
I want to talk about Sweden.
So anyway, the classes are fun. It's the coolest thing I do. I'm really tired when they're over because I talk a lot as it is, but you get in front of 40 people, and anyway, it's super super fun.
And they're hands on, right?
It's a mix. So
Mix, yeah.
Sometimes not. It kind of depends on the weather, depends on what we're doing. I've gotten a little, I don't know, a little overzealous with having too many people in the last couple, because I did one for Father's Day and I started getting all these emails from ladies saying, "Oh my God, I forgot to buy my husband a ticket," and I opened it up to too many people, and then it starts pouring down rain and we're only half covered. So it kind of depends on what's going on. But people love hands-on. The ones we did last week in Sweden were half hands-on. People love that, no matter, even if you just need something chopped up. So we try to where we can.
So are there one? There, you said there's two with Mo coming up. Have they been posted yet or listed yet?
They should be in the next week. So we're hoping to. We've been kind of publishing schedule month by month, because
Okay.
not a big company, and if I throw dates out there and something happens with our family and we can't make it, then that's not good. So we've tried to be real thoughtful about it. But going into the fall season, we're hoping to lay out the entire fall schedule,
Okay.
because we're just shooting things around. Here's September, here's October. I'd rather lay the whole thing out. So within the next week or two, the whole fall will be published.
Very cool. And I wanted to go over what products you have too, for just so that, how many different rubs do you have?
We have nine. We have 9 different
Right.
seasons. We have 8, and then I came out with a limited edition rub in the summer, which is a mashup of 2 existing rubs. It's not a 50-50 mix, but boy, that was a wild success that I didn't expect. I thought a lot of people would just say, "Oh, I can put those 2 together," and I was ready to tap out on that particular day, on July 1st when we released it. We'd done 1,000 orders, not bottles, like orders of 6 and 7 and 8, and at 9 o'clock I finally said, "All right, we got to mark this sold out." So we have 9 different rubs. We have plus a chicken fried steak breading and all kinds of hats and shirts and stickers and koozies and a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you have a lot of great stuff, and it all looks really good quality. What are the injections? Do you still sell those?
Yeah, we have 3 injections, typically kind of marketed towards a competition customer. At least that's what I say, because that's where I learned about injections. But a lot of people love them. They're very, very, very popular. It kind of surprised me with, I don't know, I think I could put out anything right now and it'd blow up for a little bit. It seems like as good as it's been this year. But I thought the injections would really be kind of centered towards a comp coat, but everybody has been trying them even in their backyard.
Yeah, what's the breakdown kind of the competition versus the home cook? For everything in general, can you feel like it's more competition based, or does it seem like more the home cook?
Well, I don't market well, so I have, I'm a competition guy at heart, and I obviously want competition customers, but I think that's one reason I've been different from everybody else. I'm not focused on that comp market, because we're all backyard at the end of the day. So that's where my focus is. Now I have a small pro staff of teams that really push things in a comp world for us, but it's mostly just people that I'm really good friends with that I want to work with.
And so they're primarily using your rubs.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask about the pro staff.
How they do it or what they talk about, just as long as they use our stuff. It's been cool because there's a couple teams that wanted to work with us, and they slowly worked our stuff in their program, and they're wildly successful with our stuff. It's done very well in Texas. It's done well in KCBS. Across the country in this particular year. I started with Holy Cow and Honey Hog on Pitmasters, and those are the flagships, plus the injections and a couple other things I mix in have been really good in competition this year.
And what
cool.
It's
kind of cool to make something, and then I went out and hit a grand champion on this stuff, and I was like, this is pretty cool that you don't just go win a contest, but you go win a contest with your own stuff.
Yeah, that's the coolest, huh?
Yeah.
And did you know like the blend is just kind of, do you have a great palate, or just you kind of played around enough, or I guess it's just intriguing.
The first couple, I'd had. I mean, one is so I've got Holy Cow. I consider it a Central Texas rub with Central Texas barbecue, salt and pepper, supposedly. That's primarily what it is. Yeah. People add different stuff. So Holy Cow has a little other stuff in it, like garlic and some stuff. And then I had kind of just an all-purpose kind of rub, and so that's where I started. Did I have 9 in my head? No, absolutely not. Yeah, I definitely did not know I had 9 rubs in me. I'm started out with a couple that were tried and true that I'd used for a long time. And that's where it started, and I've got a really good partner in my co-packer who has more expertise or experience than I do, whereas I do know what I think works in the market. So I bring kind of the on the ground expertise of what works and comp and what's popular and backyard grilling and certainly I test this stuff. I like to, despite the way I look, I like to eat. So, we'll put something together and test it. And once we kind of get it where we want, then we'll bring friends in to try it and go from there. But it's been really cool. It's crazy how these products they have taken over, particularly, in a lot of backyard grilling space with Big Green Egg users and Traeger folks. It is bizarre to me to this day how quick it's taken off and how loyal these people are.
Yeah, it just seems, and they seem so excited to share. That's something that
Yeah.
I don't see that with a lot of products.
Yeah, it's interesting. And we've got, I don't know, over 250 retail locations, and I've only ever called one, and that was the Big Green Egg Culinary Center or their store, because I teach there, and I said it's kind of odd that I teach you and have this rub and you don't sell it, and they started selling it. But we get, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 calls a week. Hey, I want to carry your rub, and on we go. We don't have a sales force calling people, so we've been fortunate.
That's so great. So with the brands like Yeti, do they come to you? Is that how it generally has? Because you have a number of sponsors.
Yeah.
Or partners.
Well, I won't.
You don't
lie.
need to,
I did court Yeti a little bit.
Well, you should.
I started that. Yeah, most of them have come to us generally, and that's the cool thing is it's. I mean, almost all of them have come to us, but it's been really natural as well because I tell people we only work with brands that we use, and so I'll give you an example. So we work with Banner Butter, and I was teaching at Big Green Egg Culinary Center in Atlanta, and the head chef said, "You got to try this butter," and she gives me some butter, and I tried it. It's unreal. And I make compound butters in my classes. And so she tells me a story about how I was at a party last night and tried this butter, and I stuck it in my purse. So she basically stole this butter from a party. So, and she said, and Andrew Banner, the owner of the company, is coming in today. And I said, to arrest you for stealing his butter. So
exactly.
I threw my compound butter out and said, let's just use this stuff. And it was amazing. True, like the best butter I've ever tasted. So not only is their butter good, but it's loaded with, one has I used on steaks tonight, like roasted garlic, all sorts of stuff in it. So I really liked it. And then we get together and start talking. And now we work together to kind of bring them into the grilling world. And their butter is a really good grilling butter because it has a high percentage of milk fat in it. Since then, I've sent them a couple different flavors of rub, and they're now creating butter with my rub in it. And full disclosure, I'm not getting anything for it, but it's that good. I grilled oysters this weekend with their butter that has our honey hog in it, and that's how this works. Next thing you know, they're on our website and we talk about it. And I mean, I'm certainly not getting rich off our partners. That's not the deal at all. It's just really stuff that I believe in. And when we teach, I give a handout that says, here's all the people that I work with and why, and you can work with them or not. So they've pretty much come to us just after seeing what we do, which is also really cool. I feel like I'm a NASCAR driver, and all my sponsors are just slowly coming in.
Well, and they do feel like natural fits. They don't feel like it's just some absurd sponsor that you have. There's not a gasoline company that's
not Peyton Manning getting the decision if to work with somebody or not. But yeah, it's all stuff that we use, and so that's why it works with people. It doesn't seem somebody doesn't give me something. I mean, I get offers for these odd things, and I'm like, I'll keep the names.
Mm-hmm. No, that's the smart route.
So, yeah.
So how did Sweden come about?
Sweden's a cool story. So years ago, I was filling orders, and a guy named Johan Frizzell ordered some seasoning and his address was Sweden. And I emailed him and said, well, this is cool. I'd never sold anything to Sweden before. And every time I'd send something to a new country, I kind of made mental note of it. So he wrote me back, and I filed it away. And the next year, he shot me an email and said, "I'm coming to the U.S. to visit a bunch of barbecue joints. Coming to Texas, like to meet up with you." And we didn't get to hook up that year, but he went to a gajillion restaurants across the country. So then the next year, he came back, did the same thing. I met up with him and two guys, and they went to 55 restaurants in 17 states in 15 days.
Wow, that's impressive. I'm jealous.
And it's an amazing list. So, they fly into D.C., they hit all the places in the Carolinas, drive to Nashville, eat all the hot chicken, go to Kansas City, have their burn-ins, come to Texas, do our thing. I introduced them to Daniel Vaughn, Daniel.
Yeah.
And the next day, they drove down to meet with Aaron Franklin. We're having lunch with Aaron, said, you should come to Sweden and teach a class. Aaron said, okay. they shipped one of Aaron's pits to Sweden. Aaron
I
went
think I
over the
remember that. Okay.
Yeah, so same story. So anyway, amazing trip, and invited me over last year. So I went last year and taught, I think, 14 courses in 13 hours. It was nuts, like 8 in the morning till 10 at night or something like that. A lot of fun. And they said, you want to come back next year, of course. And they asked me if I want to collaborate with anybody. And I said, yeah, I bet Mo would come with me. Called Mo. He said, I'm in. And we were there last week. Days are coming together.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, maybe.
2 weeks ago, yeah. And we taught two classes on Wednesday and Thursday. But Johan has a restaurant called Holy Smoke Barbecue that if I blindfolded you and took it off in this restaurant, you would think you're in Texas. It's
that's so cool.
Lone Star beer. He imports Creekstone beef. It's a super cool place, and barbecue's very foreign to Sweden. Folks have a grill, they have a Weber kettle or a Big Green Egg, but they don't know what barbecue is, and his is just blown up. He was finalist for Restaurant of the Year in all of Sweden last year.
Whoa!
Along with Magnus Nielsen. So
that is crazy.
Yeah.
So these 14 course. Is it just because you're there for a finite amount of time? Like you have to do it as intense as possible or something?
Our friend Jess was there last week teaching right after us, and she said,
I saw that.
Your next level is an understatement. I know that he wants to give folks their money's worth, but it's not like anything I've ever seen. I mean, I'll teach a 4-hour class here, and I'm not really making sure I have your attention the whole time. And over there, I'm thinking, how in the heck am I going to do this? For so long. Well, let's just say we took a 45-minute break in the middle of the day. These guys are just kicked back by the fire pit, soaking up the sun, just chilling. So, I mean, they're the most gracious, patient people, and they hang on every word. They want to know everything, everything, how to do everything. So it's awesome.
Are there mostly Swedes at the class, or are they people from all over Europe? Or?
Yeah, so they were, I think last or 2 weeks ago we had like 97% Swedes. We had one guy from Norway. I had an American in both classes, but they didn't come from the U.S. One had transplanted to London and drove up, and then we had someone that was dating someone in Sweden, come up. So mostly Swedish people.
That's really, really cool. So is this something that he does monthly or something, or is it just something a few times a year?
A few times. So he's only open from Easter weekend until sometime in October. So this year they're actually shooting a show and 6 episodes. So Mo did one, I did one, Jess did one, and Billy Durney from Hometown Barbecue did one. So there were 4 Americans, and then there were 2 Swedish folks doing it this time. So he normally has, I guess, half dozen or so classes a year. Some local people and some U.S. folks, but he's bringing in some good names, so I'm sure he'll keep it going.
That's really, really cool. So barbecue-wise, restaurant-wise, are there any ones that you have seen on your radar or visited recently that you really love?
Well, so now the cat's out of the bag on Bodacious, but in the spring when I had, my first class I had here and invited Jordan Jackson, my wife said, well, why aren't you just doing this yourself? I know you can sell it out without bringing anybody. And I said, Jordan's barbecue is legit, so good. And I did not know at the time, and neither did he, what was going to happen. But he came to the class, and I told everyone why I was such a fan of the creative stuff he does. And maybe like 2 months later, the Texas Monthly Top 50 came out, and he was number 4, which is crazy. So he is definitely super high on my list.
That's that's the original Bodacious, right?
It is, yeah. So his father-in-law, Roland, started. That's another thing I should mention, that, he kind of has the stigma of working at a chain, even though it's not really a chain. It's just the original one. And he and another friend, Scott Turner, 2 Le Cordon Bleu trained chefs have done this. So, and we're talking like skeleton crew. There's 4 people that work there. So there's other people that complain about, it was a bad week when Daniel came and visited us, or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, shut up. These guys have 4 people.
Yeah, you can't make excuses.
Yeah, there are no excuses.
Are there any barbecue books you like, or that you've read recently, or that you check out? Or do you not read a lot of barbecue books?
I don't have time to read.
You have 4 children, I know. It's a question I wanted to ask.
Well, so the one I enjoyed the most this year was BBQ's book, mainly because, so Danielle's a friend, but watching her social media feeds, I always joke, make me the hungriest of anything I watch. And so the minute she came book, I had to get involved in those recipes quick.
Yeah, that's a great book. What other type of food do you cook other than barbecue?
Comfort food. So growing up in the South, my granny in Alabama was the one that made these meals. We'd come home from church and she'd have, I mean, you could be 4 people, and she had this massive table filled with food. So mashed potatoes, fried whatever, green beans, fried okra. So I would say, Southern comfort food, like chicken fried steak here, mashed potatoes, gravy, that sort of thing is like my number one. But I'm really influenced by I would consider it kind of Texas chuck wagon kind of cooking. So Grady Spears and Fort Worth and guys like that. That's my kind of cooking.
Hey, it's me by myself. At the end of our interview, we had some technical difficulties, and we jumped back in, tried to finish up the Skype interview, and the audio portion was a little garbled, so I didn't want to include this, but we did talk for maybe a minute, just kind of wrap things up. I thanked him for taking the time because he's a very busy guy, and I did ask him if he ever thought about opening a restaurant, and it's been on his mind, but it's definitely not something in the near future, or even if it's something that he'll do at all. He's really, really busy. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.